Hello everyone, and welcome back to another What's for Dinner video where I show you everything that I have fed my family for the past week. So starting off, we have black bean burgers and homemade french fries. They're really easy. All you do is saute one onion that's been chopped, and then I used carrots this time instead of mushrooms because I was out of mushrooms. And I just sauteed all that until the onion and carrot were soft. And once that was soft, I put in 3 cloves of garlic that I had minced up and just let that saute until I could smell the garlic. This is also when I added my spices, so I added some soy sauce, cumin, coriander, chili powder, cayenne, and salt, all to taste. And then once those were incorporated, I threw them in the blender along with the equivalent of 1 can of black beans and 1 can of lentils and a flax egg that I had sitting off to the side while I was waiting. I basically just let it blend until everything was pureed, and then I started adding my oatmeal so that way it could have some body to it. And this was a really wet mixture for some reason this time, so it took a lot of oatmeal. I think it took like 3 cups to get it to the consistency that I wanted, to where it wasn't incredibly liquidy or runny, and it kind of held its form when you shaped it into a ball. After it was done, I just took out like 1/4 cup measurements, or like 1/2 cup measurements, shaped them into balls, and then pressed them flat to make hamburger patties, or to make patties. And then I just put them on my nonstick skillet over like medium-high heat for around 7 minutes on each side until they were nice and brown on each side. And then once they had gotten flipped over, I put on a slice of the KO, I think it's KO, it might be Chow vegan cheese. And then once those were melted, I took them off the heat and put them on a hamburger patty with just some mayo, lettuce, avocado, and tomato. The next night I did kind of a version of like a tomato, like a baked tomato pasta. I took 2 containers of the cherry tomatoes, 2 pints of the cherry tomatoes, and I took 1 container and cut them in half to get all the juices out, and then the other container I left whole, and I think next time I'll just leave it whole because it was kind of a hassle for no reason. And then I just chunked up an onion into fairly big bits, and I took an entire head of garlic and I just de-skinned it and crushed them and threw them in the pan along with the other stuff. Gave it a really good drizzle of olive oil, like I put a bunch of it on there, along with a bunch of Italian seasoning and basil, and roasted it in the oven. I think it was like 425 for 30 minutes if I remember correctly. And then once it was done in the oven, I took it out, threw it in my blender along with some pasta water, because I had been letting some angel hair pasta boil. I just put it in the blender, pureed it, and poured the tomato mixture over the pasta, and that was it. It was a really easy dinner, and it tasted really good. My entire family loved it, and there was no leftovers whatsoever. And we even ended up sprinkling some nutritional yeast over the top for like a Parmesan flavor, and that was really good too. The next dish is a ramen stir fry. I basically just sauteed 1 onion until it was semi-soft and threw in a couple cloves of garlic, along with a bag of the Great Value Deluxe Stir Fry. And I just let that steam until it was done and all the veggies were cooked through. And then I added it to a soy sauce mixture that I made in the pan to the left. It was soy sauce, some pasta water, sesame oil, crushed red pepper flakes, brown sugar. I think I added garlic pepper too, and some salt. And I just combined all that together and let the brown sugar melt. And once the brown sugar had dissolved, I added the ramen noodles that had been boiling in the very back to the sauce mixture so they could soak up the sauce. And then I added the vegetables into it and just combined those together. And that was it. I wasn't too big a fan of the recipe, but the rest of my family really liked it. And I think if you like more, I think if you like the taste of soy sauce, then you'll really like the recipe, but I don't prefer the taste of soy sauce, so I didn't prefer this dish. So the next night I decided to try my hand at making meatloaf. There was no actual recipe, I just kind of came up with this. But basically all I did was throw 1 pound of lentils into my Instant Pot, and I cooked those until they were soft. And then I threw them into my food processor and processed them until they were the consistency of like ground chuck, to get that similar texture to the meatloaf. And then once I was done with that, I added it to a mixing bowl and added a cup of panko, I want to say, and then I added 2 flax eggs, which is what you see in the blender back there, is some homemade, or not homemade, some freshly ground flaxseed. And then I added just some seasoned salt, garlic pepper, onion powder, turmeric, and ketchup, along with some regular salt to taste. And if I do it again, I'll probably omit the ketchup from the batter just because I don't prefer the taste of ketchup. And then I'll use a real onion instead of the onion powder because I feel like that would have given it a lot more flavor. And I put it in the I put it in like a bread pan because I didn't have any other type of pan, and I baked it at 400 for 25 minutes until it was brown around the edges. Took it out and then made a little concoction of ketchup, Worcestershire sauce, and brown sugar, and put that on top. Put it back in the oven at 350 this time for, I want to say, 10 minutes until it was like the glaze was set and done. Took it out of the oven, let it sit for 10 minutes, and then I sliced it up and served it. And everyone in my family really liked it. I wasn't too big a fan, but I think it was just because of the amount of ketchup that was on it. But I'll definitely try this recipe again and give like an actual recipe next time.